I thought maybe I'll do something different, right? So just like last time, I thought I'll read poems to you because all of you are reading a lot of storybooks, but you're not reading enough poems. I think all of you should read more poetry, right? So this is a this is a book that I really, really love. It's by a writer called Shel Silverstein, and he's one of my favorite writers. And he writes and he draws. So if you look at the book, he'll write poetry and then he'll also draw along with it, and he draws beautifully well. Okay, and he wrote these books about 40, 50 years ago, right? But he's a wonderful poet. So I thought I'll read a bunch of Shel Silverstein poems to you. In fact, even last
Papa,
time.
that's before you were born, even.
Yeah, it's before I was born, before your mama papas were born. It was around the time when your dadi dadu were young, right? Your nani nanu, dadi dadu were all young. That's the time. So he's a very old poet, right? So I will read a bunch of his poems, and maybe one of the poems would be the one that I read last time. So let's see if you remember. Okay. So the first poem is about a boy who watches a lot of television, and I know a bunch of you watch a lot of television. I know all of you watch a lot of
I
television.
don't.
You don't.
Good. Let me get at this TV. No one lets me.
Oh, nobody lets you. Okay, okay. Chalo, mute. Okay. So this is about a boy. Yeah. So this is a poem about a boy called Jimmy Jet, who likes to watch television a lot. Okay. So I'm going to read this poem. So everyone on mute and pay attention. Jimmy Jet and his TV set. I'll tell you the story of Jimmy Jet, and you know what I tell you is true. He loved to watch his TV set almost as much as you. He watched all day, he watched all night, till he grew pale and lean. From the early show to the late late show, and all the shows between. He watched till his eyes were frozen wide, and his bottom grew into his chair, and his chin turned into a tuning dial, and antennae grew out of his hair, and his brain turned into TV tubes, and his face to a TV screen, and two knobs saying vertical and horizontal grew where his ears had been, and he grew a plug, and that looked like a tail. So we plugged in little Jim, and now instead of him watching TV, we all sit around and watch him. So look at the picture. Jimmy, who used to sit and watch TV, has now himself become a TV set. Look, he's sitting, and the tail is like an electricity point, right? It's like a wire which has been plugged into the wall. And now everyone is sitting around, and see, the family is sitting around, and they're all sitting and watching little Jimmy Jet, because Jimmy Jet has become a television set, right? So this is what happens if you watch too much TV. Okay, so next time listen to your mama papa. Don't spend too much time on the iPad, because in the modern age,
Eyes fall out and your eyes will fall out.
your eyes will become frozen and your face will become like a screen. And right, so all of you know this. All of you know that fewer coins doesn't more coins doesn't mean more money, because I could have 10 pennies, but that will still be less than 1/4, right? Correct. So this boy did not know this. So this is a poem called Smart, about a boy who thinks more coins means more money. My dad gave me $1 bill because I'm his smartest son, and I swapped it for two shiny quarters because two is more than one. And then I took the two quarters and traded them to Lou for 3 dimes. I guess he don't know that three is more than two. Just then along came old blind Bates, and just cause he can't see, he gave me 4 nickels for my 3 dimes, because 4 is more than 3. And I took the nickels to Hiram Coombs.
That is very silly also.
Very silly. And I took the nickels to Hiram Coombs down at the seed feed store, and the fool gave me 5 pennies for them, and 5 is more than 4. And then I went and showed my dad, and he got red in the cheeks and closed his eyes and shook his head, too proud of me to speak. So guess what? He started with $1. $1 is how many cents? 100 cents. And in the end, he came back with
100.
5 pennies. How much is 5 pennies? How many cents?
5 cents.
5 cents. So he lost 95 cents and he thinks he came back with more money. Such a silly boy. So we have to imagine if we were 1 inch tall. So this poem is called 1 inch tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd ride a worm to school. The teardrop of a crying ant would be your swimming pool. A crumb of cake would be a feast and last you 7 days at least. A flea would be a frightening beast because you're only 1 inch tall. If you were only 1 inch tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd walk beneath the door and it would take about a month to go down to the store. A bit of fluff would be your bed. You'd swing upon a spider's thread and wear a thimble on your head if you were 1 inch tall. You'd surf across the kitchen sink upon a stick of gum. You couldn't hug your mama. You'd just have to hug her thumb. Right? You'd run from people in fright. Oh my God, people are so big. To move a pen or a pencil would take all night. Imagine how big your pencil would be. This poem took 14 years to write because I'm just 1 inch tall. See, so imagine some of you now can write really, really fast, right? You can write a full page in like 10-15 minutes. But imagine writing a poem like this if you were only 1 inch tall. Which is a poem that I really, really like. It's about me and my giant. So I'm friends with a giant, right? So this is a poem about me and my giant and how we communicate, how we speak to each other, okay? So everyone on mute. I have a friend who's a giant and he lives where the tall weeds grow. He's high as a mountain and wide as a barn and I only come up to his toe. You know, I only come up to his toe. When the daylight grows dim, I talk with him, way down in the marshy sands, and his ear is too far away to hear, but still he understands. He understands. I know he understands. For we have a code, right? So they've made up their own language. For we have a code called the scratch tap code. And here is what we do. I scratch his toe. One means, so if I scratch one time, one means hello. Twice means how are you? 3 means does it look like it's going to rain? 4 times means don't cry. 5 times means I'll scratch you a joke. And 6 times means goodbye, goodbye. 6 times means goodbye. And he answers me by tapping his big toes. Once means hello friend. 2 taps means it's very nice to feel you scratch again. 3 taps means it's lonely here with my head on top of the sky. 4 taps means today an eagle smiled as she flew by. 5 taps means oops, I just bumped my head against the moon. That's how tall my giant is. Right? 6 means sigh and 7 means bye and 8 means come back soon, soon, soon. 8 means come back soon. And then I scratch 1,000 times and he taps with a bippity bim and he laughs so hard he shakes the sky because that means I'm tickling him. Right? So imagine if you could make a new language. What would that language be? Can you make a language with just taps and scratches? So last poem for all of you before I leave, okay? So everyone on mute, and this is a poem that you know because I read it to you last time. The poem is called Sick. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry. I'm going blind in my right eye. My tonsils are as big as rocks. I've counted 16 chicken pox. Oh, there's one more, that's 17. And don't you think my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes are blue. It might be the instamatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke. I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin. My belly button's caving in. My back is wrenched, my ankle sprained, my appendix pains each time it rains. My nose is cold, my toes are numb. I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck is stiff, my voice is weak. I hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth. I think my hair is falling out. My elbow's bent, my spine ain't hurt, and it's not straight. My temperature is 108. My brain is shrunk. I cannot hear. There is a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail and my heart is what? Wait, what? What's that? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday? Goodbye. I'm going out to play. Right?
Awesome.